top of the table.
My results came out and I haven't got the GPA of 4.3. I am so depressed. My girlfriend refused to go out with me for a party. I am so depressed. I couldn't go for the first day show of that superhero movie. I am so depressed. You must have heard or possibly been depressed over all these matters. And that's our point of discussion today on Top of the Table. Hello, my name is Sheetal Sharma, and joining me on this discussion is clinical psychologist Jaswandi Sahasrabuddhe. Hi, Jaswandi.
Hello, Sheetal and all the listeners. So, Sheetal, I'm very intrigued, and I know this topic that you're talking about is so interesting and exciting at the same time. So, Sheetal, just to take you through it, these days people use the term depressed or depression. I feel so depressed far too often. And to be very honest, in incorrect or a very casual way. Whereas if you ask me, depression as a mental health professional can be a big mental health concern.
True, absolutely, Jaswandi, and that is what we are going to discuss today. So, Jaswandi, the big question is, do we actually get depressed over such trivial matters? Or have we just turned the word depression into a slang, loosely terming being upset as depression?
So, Sheetal, a good observation, I would say. Rather than slang, these days using words like I am depressed, I'm so anxious is becoming so in trend words, It's like using these words so casually. I feel depressed. When a person says that, I don't know, but as a mental health professional, it does bother me. And if you look at depression, it's more than just feeling sad or just feeling blue or having a bad day. We all go through so many emotions. I'll tell you, Sheetal, every day if you sit down, right, you have so many emotions. And if I tell you, just Sheetal, write down all the emotions that you have experienced in a day, you will have so many emotions to write it down. These emotions are very episodic. In the morning, a person might feel, oh, I'm very tired. I don't feel like working because of a particular trigger. In the afternoon, the person might feel good. Okay, in the evening, I'm going out on a date with my girlfriend or a boyfriend, or I'm going out for a game night, or I might feel very excited. In the night, I again might feel tired or sleepy or even upset because there's something that happened throughout the day that has bothered me. But if you see, it's not that every situation or every episode we will feel in the same way. In certain situations, you might feel extremely happy, and in the similar situations, in some other day, you might feel extremely sad or disappointed or even upset. But my question is, when you're feeling upset, do you really think you're depressed? Or when you feel sad, do you really think you're depressed? So from me, the answer is no. Because clinical depression is so much more than just feeling low or having an off day or a bad day.
But tell me, see, there are days when you really don't feel like getting out of the bed, and I'm sure that you and me and most of us would have faced those days, would have been through those days when we are feeling very low, very blue. We just don't feel like meeting anyone. We just want to, be on a bed or possibly just be on the couch and just munch on something and, be all by ourselves, isolated from the rest of the world and maybe watch something on one of the OTT platforms or something. Okay. And you don't even feel like doing your daily chores, But does that sound like depression to you?
So, Sheetal, yes, there are days, and even with me, I had so many days, like many a times during a day, I feel, oh, I should not be doing this. What am I doing? I don't think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I just want to watch something, just be myself, get that space for myself. But, Sheetal, when we speak about all of this you feel once in a week, twice in a week, not every day. So if we look at it, sadness. So this is something where I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling I'm feeling indifferent. On the other hand, sadness or indifference is an emotion. And if you look at being depressed or being in the state of depression, it is much more than just an emotion. It's actually a state of being. For example, when you feel like just sitting on on the couch and watching something, not getting up, or I don't want to take a bath. At times, I'm sure, Sheetal, you might also be feeling, oh, I'm feeling so tired and bored that I don't want to take a bath even. So, that you feel once a day, right, Sheetal? The next day you will get up and take a bath saying that, okay, now I feel much better. On the other hand, if a person is going through clinical depression or is diagnosed with clinical depression, the person will not be able to do it for a good stretch of say 7 to 8 days at least, and that's when a psychologist might diagnose this as a clinical depression. So when you are sad, you don't feel like getting out of the bed. And just giving an example, you don't feel like getting out of the bed, but when you're depressed, it's just that you can't do it. Even if you want to do it, you cannot do it. So even if you want to get up while you are diagnosed with depression, even if your mind and body wants to get up and do things, it's just that you are not in the state of actually doing the action.
So, Jaswanti, does that mean that sometimes we ourselves mistake sadness for depression? And what about the celebrities who say that they have been depressed? Could they also be battling sadness instead?
Sheetal, see that this can be a very controversial statement to be passed, but I would say yes, sadness is the first step to depression, or I would say a long-term prolonged sadness, yes, is said to be a symptom. So there could be a possibility, but until and unless we know what were the symptoms that the person was going through, we really cannot term it whether this was depression or just mere prolonged period of sadness. Now let's take example of Deepika Padukone. Okay, Sheetal, what do you think if you look at her story? She being a Bollywood actress, what do you think her story of battling depression was?
I think Jaswanti, she's also been very open about, what she's been going through. And I remember that once on KBC, she mentioned that, and I'd like to quote her here, saying that I didn't feel like going to work or meeting anybody. I did not want to go out. I didn't feel like doing anything. And many times, I don't know if I should say this, but I didn't feel like living anymore. I felt like I had no purpose. And these were the words of Deepika Padukone. Now that to me sounds like a serious depression and not sadness for sure.
Exactly, Sheetal. So you understand how we were able to understand that it was not sadness, but it was depression. And if I had to ask why, it's because, she had everything. Like, she was on the peak of her career. She was doing so well. She was having blockbuster movies. And yet she had this thought of a trigger, or because of a trigger, of not having or not living or having a suicidal ideation. So, this is what differentiates a person with sadness and depression. If a person is diagnosed with depression, it's just more than feeling sad on a particular day. It's more than feeling hopeless. Sheetal, I'll give you my example. Okay, in masters, when I was doing masters, before I could get the admission, I was out of station and I just missed the date of admission by a day. And trust me, I had got almost like 84% and I was actually doing so well in my academics, and still I had this thing of extreme sadness for a day or two because, I thought I did everything that I could and still I was not getting anything. I felt so hopeless. I felt so worthless to a point that I thought, no, things are not going to work out anyway. But if you ask me, was that depression or sadness? I would say that was still sadness, because if it was depression, I would have still continued thinking that it was hopeless, because after third days when I thought, okay, I need to find another college. I cannot just sit down and cry about it. So if you see the difference, it's just that the sadness slowly fades away, but in terms of depression, it keeps on gradually increasing if we do not take into account due considerations and interventions when we talk about depression.
Also, Jaswanti, like if I take my own example, and this was back in 2017, and I had quit my job, started a business of my own and everything, and suddenly things shifted, but it was a bad period to kind of start the business because a lot of things in the Indian, political and financial sector were going through a massive shift. things like demonetization and introduction of GST, and all of that happened. And somewhere our business took a hit because of that, and it couldn't take off the way it was supposed to take off. Now suddenly I found and I felt that the ground beneath my feet was shifting completely. It was fluid, and I didn't feel that there was a grounding. And suddenly one day, and I was possibly just kind of pushing myself to a great extent, but a few months down the line, and I was in this state of just, I just burst out crying. I had a breakdown, and I just couldn't stop crying at that moment, right? And the next day onwards, I just didn't want to get out of my bed. I just didn't want to meet anyone. I was dating my boyfriend, and I was always in touch with him, but I didn't want to speak to him. I didn't want to, connect with my parents, my pets, nothing. Nothing was giving me joy as it used to before. And while I thought that, this is something that is going to die out, but it continued, and I just found it extremely hard to get out of my bed each day, every day. And trying also became difficult, to be very honest. And what happened eventually was that, possibly 1 week into that entire phase, and when I was not getting out of that mode, I thought to myself, and I called up my friend, and I mustered the courage. And this is the friend, my very close friend of mine. And it was in front of her that I had this nervous breakdown. And I told her, I said that, I really need some help. I really need to go to a therapist for this. I think that this is something serious, and it's not a phase that's going to, pass off easily, right? So that is when I went to the therapist, and I was diagnosed with clinical depression. After a few rounds of therapy, and also understanding myself, and also understanding the triggers and the traumas and everything, and a lot of self-work that went into it, and a lot of trying hard on my own and pulling myself together, I came out of it. But not everyone could be that lucky. Now, if I quote examples from very, very popular celebrities, right? Like someone like a Robin Williams, who ended his life due to depression, or an Alexander McQueen, who took his life due to depression. Now, these actors and many more like them, they were battling depression and spiraled into it because of a major life event. Like I was talking about a major life event that, I left my job. That was the first time that I didn't have a job. I started a business. It didn't go well. My finances were, took a hit and everything. And I felt that there was a lot of uncertainty. Similarly, even with Alexander McQueen, or Robin Williams, they lost someone very close in their life, and that is what spiraled them into depression. So I think that it's mostly these major big life events which completely make you feel that, life is not the same anymore. And that is when you kind of slip into depression. And it's far more serious than getting a 4 GPA instead of getting a 4.3, what you were expecting, right?
Exactly, Sheetal. And it is, as I'm again saying the same thing, but it's more about how long are you experiencing it. Like Sheetal, in your case, as you said, you understood after a point that it's not reducing the emotion that you're experiencing, the intensity of these emotions, also the frequency of you having a nervous breakdown was increasing day by day. So you could understand that, okay, this is not going to come down without a professional help. So in my case, on the other hand, if you see, I told you I was able to think through it in 3 days. So in my case, it was prolonged sadness rather than depression. And on the other hand, in your case, it was a clear red flag about clinical depression, which was peeping out, right? So Sheetal, also, in all of this, people tend to ask, okay, what are the causes? Why do people experience something like this? Or why are people diagnosed with clinical depression? And whenever someone asks me this question, I always say, the triggers are very different. The causes are very different. It can be as simple as having as you said, as a major life event, to a major stressor as well, because you are experiencing this stressor since a long time. It starts affecting your emotional state. Also, as I always say, the trauma makes clinical depression even worse. So here is where I feel the trauma, working on your trauma, on your previous trauma, does make a lot of difference when we talk about clinical depression.
True, Jaswandi, and I think that one important aspect to be taken care of is also grief, and how you deal with grief. I think that the inability to connect with other people about your own emotions and the inability to cope with grief also sometimes pushes you into depression. Like I said, that it happened in case of Robin Williams or Alexander McQueen.
So true, Sheetal. And when we speak about major life event, it also includes losing someone who's close to you. So there are instances when the caregiver has gone into clinical depression because he was not able to come out of the loss that he had of his close one passing away. So, Sheetal, this grief, yes, as I said, grief, trauma, bereavement is something that we do not look at or we do not work on, but that is something that we should be working on, because we don't know how this really affects you and to what extent does it affect you. Because, nowadays, I always keep talking about how child psychology and preventive work is more important rather than doing the treatment work. So these days, as a child psychologist, I would like to say that students or children in, say, nursery to grade 1 to like the early ages, they have been taught about emotional well-being, and that becomes such important aspect. When they lose someone who is close to them, they know how to express it, because Sheetal, grief is something we develop because we are not able to express and handle the strong emotions that we are experiencing, right? So that's the negative experiences that we experience, or negative experiences that we are put into, which we cannot handle, which leads to grief or which increases the traumatic experiences. And thus emotional regulation also plays a very important role in handling or managing depression.
So, Jaswanti, tell us, what are really the red flags that we need to look out for if we ourselves or anyone around us seems to be depressed?
So there are few red flags that we should look at, or I would say that we need to tap on as soon as we see any changes in these things. I guess it is important for us to go and seek professional help. The first and most important, Sheetal, is that you start losing interest in the activities that you used to like or love doing. For example, you might be loving to read, or you might love to go for a walk in the evening, and you realize over a period of time that you're losing interest to an extent that you do not even want to touch the book. So this difference in losing interest of doing activities that you used to do earlier is one red flag. The second red flag, which is very important and very, very crucial, is sleep patterns. Changes in your sleep pattern can be a major red flag, because a person who is at risk of getting diagnosed with clinical depression might sleep excessively or might develop insomnia or lack of deep sleep. So these two red flags are one that we can actually note down immediately as soon as we start looking at it. The third one, Sheetal, which many of us experience not just in clinical depression but in also other states, is fatigue. That is lack of energy. You tend to get tired. You tend to feel, I don't know what is happening, but I don't have the energy of doing anything. And by anything, I mean even a simple task that does not require a lot of energy, you feel that task will need a lot of your energy. So these three red flags are very, very important. And again, I am saying these are not the only three red flags, but these red flags are actually very prominent when we look at a person who is maybe at risk of depression. And the last but not the least, I would say, is extreme feeling of sadness or a mood of, say, hopelessness, worthlessness. You don't see a road ahead. So even if you are doing something, you feel, oh, I don't think so I will be able to do it. So there are a lot of negative thoughts that keep going on for even the things that you know you can do it easily. You have done that in the past, but you'll tend to lose all the hope, and there is a lot of guilt that you start developing. So if you actually want to have a checklist, yes, these 4 or 5 things is what you should be looking at when we look at clinical depression.
And just one thing, honestly, I've been there and I know how it feels, when you might have the answers to all your questions, but you just can't see them. You just can't see how to get yourself out of that situation, and that feeling completely drowns you. Right? And I think that when a lot of people tell you, they just want you to just snap out of it, or snap out of that feeling, to be very honest, for a person who is in depression, it is not easy. Trust me, it is not easy. You really need therapy. You really need objective opinion from people, from medical professionals who are trained to kind of get you out from there. And trust me, when you start talking to a therapist, there are a lot of answers that you keep getting on your own. And I think that is one major way of kind of getting out of, depression, or this entire loop of feeling, worthless completely.
So, Sheetal, I agree. I always use this code. This is a code that is used in transactional analysis, which is a therapeutic technique, which says it's okay to not be okay. That means it's okay if you need help. It's just that you need to take help. And a psychologist or a mental health professional can help you not just deal with depression, but also other underlying issues. As I said, Sheetal, you might just see the depression or clinical depression as a tip of the iceberg. On the other hand, there are so many things that are lying below it, which you might not be even aware about it. So actually working on the root cause is the most important when we talk about psychological interventions for depression.
True, Jaswandi, and that is what I realized in my case as well, because, once we started talking about my experiences, my past experiences, my personality traits, there were a lot of things that kind of opened up and also gave me a better sense and understanding of myself. Because what happens is that these days you are so busy with, your daily humdrum of life, trying to make ends meet, working and coming back and, having a social life, coming back and working at home and everything, that you barely find time for yourself. And it is so important to give yourself and your thoughts and your emotions some time, and to unwind each day in the true sense of the word, emotionally and mentally to a great extent, so that you can find that balance. And I think that is when, and there are a number of things that, you have gone through in the past also, which keep adding up and you don't even realize that they did, right? And that is when you speak to a therapist, that all those things kind of surface. And trust me, that like the first time when it happens, or the second time that you go to a therapist, it would be a very, very overwhelming feeling. You wouldn't come back from a therapist feeling, oh my God, I'm going to go up all out and about my work and the way that I used to live. It's going to drown you a little more, all that information, all that things, all those past dark memories. But gradually, things start to shift. And I think that is a healthy way of healing, for you to get in touch with your emotions, of your feelings, your past, your present, and building a brighter and a better future for yourself and a healthy mind in the process. I think that is what is required.
So true, Sheetal. And as you said, that when you start with your therapeutic experience, you might take I would say you will go one or steps down as compared to going up. But that's like when you use a bow and arrow, you have to stretch and then leave it, right? That's when you will hit the target. So it will take some time, but trust me, therapeutic interventions for clinical depression works wonders. And I would say it is always great to actually speak your heart out rather than keeping it to yourself, because depression is much more than sadness, Sheetal.
Absolutely, Jaswandi. Thank you so much for all this information. I'm sure it's going to help out our listeners, and for all of you, in case if you are feeling or you are seeing those red flags around you in any person or yourself, please go and speak to a therapist, because it will take you back on track in your life, and that is going to help you a great deal in building an understanding of yourself, and while healing and getting back to a normal life, beating depression. Thank you so much, Jaswandi, and thank you everyone for joining us.